The hunt units. What is there to say about them? That wasn't rhetorical, I've got nothing. Big damage, single guy, eat the bullet, lick the bullet, yeah, you get the picture. Well, this intro doesn't need to be long, so let's just go over the criteria. For this list, we are looking at these units from an account utility perspective. It's not just about how fast they can clear, but how much investment they need to do their job well. How much out of your way do you have to go in order to succeed with them? Unique attributes are favored heavily in this context, as even if a unit does less damage, doing something only they can do gives you an actual reason to build them if that's something that they do is actually useful. 4 stars are assumed to be E6, 5 stars are E0, S0, but if a premium option is particularly good, it will be noted but not heavily weighted. With that, let's get going. Well, the last unit in a damage dealing path ranking is bound to be pretty self-explanatory. Dan Heng has some things going for him, but he really struggles to use any of his advantages well. Let's see, his E4 gives him a kill reset if you use his ult, that's strict but solid. He gets a good amount of wind pen, which can scale well. Look, the dude just does not have great scaling, nor do any of his gimmicks help him in the damage department. And he has a chance to give himself a speed buff? That's a speed tuning nightmare. I love the guy, but in order to use him in this form, you really have to go out of your way to support him. This sword connoisseur that sucks according to the actual sword connoisseur is a step up in damage but not really in much else. He mainly struggles beyond just having subpar damage because he is so strict in his team comps. You need either Gepard or Aventurine in order for him to not feel terrible. And even then, he still feels really janky to use. Having a massive crit rate buff on a low uptime buff makes him frustrating to build for, and no speed advancing mechanics means that he just has nothing going for him. He is a big ball of stats that can't punch higher than his weight class.
And a group of flames suddenly grew super big, and then they floated right out to us and they were like,
Here we go, the last of the numbers bad units. But at least Su Sheng has some sort of niche. She has a guaranteed turn advancement after her ult, and her E1 gives back a skill point if you use her skill if the enemy is broken. These frequent attacks don't do that much damage, but they lend themselves better to being uber buffed by something like Robin's flat damage or Ranmei's break efficiency, rather than buffing up slower, stronger attacks from someone like Yanqing. You could also use her in super break if you really wanted to, and her high toughness damage lends her a decent spot in Apocalyptic Shadow. See, some solid uses. Too bad her damage still holds her back at the end of the day.
making trouble on Wildfire's territory. You guys got a lot of nerve.
Seele, the original queen of the meta. Look, 5th is not bad, and I do think Seele can perform well, but she has been more and more restricted in what context she can work under as the game has progressed. In order to do well, she wants as many resurgence procs as possible, which means A, she needs a lot of skill points, and B, she needs weak enough enemies to kill consistently. If you can fulfill these two needs, she can definitely be self-sufficient. But she is definitely not as universal as she used to be. And with the steady HP power creep, picking off small fry enemies will only be harder for her from here on.
Master Yuli, look at how hard I've been training. I could take 10 of you.
The newest unit on this list, and wow, what a niche that she has carved for herself. She is the first damage dealer that just has so much team buffing in her kit, with crit, speed, and break effect buffs to push her utility past her own damage. And that damage is not half bad. Assuming she is paired with the right ally, her frequent attacks leads to high toughness damage, fast ult rotations, and just a super fluid playstyle. I still see her as a 4-star alternative to Topaz in follow-up teams, but her unique buffing capabilities and toughness sharing utility gives her some legit use cases in Apocalyptic Shadow. Not bad for a trainee.
Reading the books is a moral imperative. Default and pay double.
Topaz. True to her character, she is the true investment unit in this game. What started as a niche but promising damage unit eventually turned into a cornerstone of so many different team comps. The Pentacony patches has given so much love to follow-up units, and she is at the center of it all, working well with Aventurine, Robin, March, and Yun Li, while still having her premium core with Ratio. That premium team is very expensive to make work, but it does perform really well. Still, even at E0, she has enough uses on the average account to warrant placing this high. So even if by herself she isn't really anything that special, the allies that work really well with her will only continue to grow in the future.
Radiates a quiet grandeur.
Ignorance is a malady that must be cured.
Mr. Free Boy himself. Ratio is the backbone of every account that was made more than a couple months ago. Easy to build teams, high consistent damage, high toughness damage, good routes to premium options thanks to the aforementioned follow-up core with Topaz. There is literally no reason not to build this guy. In the same vein that the units lower on this list were only there for their low damage, Ratio doesn't really do much special besides just having really good damage, and having vertical progression options that are overall good for the account to have. It's also nice that he can work so well with just Pela and Tingyun, rather than so many other carries that rely on Robin or Sparkle or Ranmei to really get to their practical use cases. It's not like there's that many other units fighting for Silverwolf too if you have her. Low opportunity cost, high damage, simple as that.
Dangerous? Well, fudge. Dangerous for who?
Hey, no bias here, Boothill is just the king of single target damage right now, and in my opinion, it's not even that close. Like Ratio, he gets a lot of points in my book for doing so well without premium options. He likes Ranmei, but a team of Gallagher, Harmony Trailblazer, and Bronya still performs insanely well. Break Effect is also just very easy to build. It's essentially the EM of this game, and we all know how good Hyper Bloom is, right? Right? He does need some time to ramp up with his stacks, but once he gets going, his damage output is legitimately just insane. Because his damage scales with the enemy's max toughness, this means that the more they power creep how tough it is to break the enemies, the more damage he'll end up doing. Finally, his methods to not use skill points by staying in his stance while having Gallagher as his best sustain makes it so that a slow Bronya is very realistic to use on him, which is a rare sight to see that basically doubles his damage. And he doesn't even need a good light cone to reach these heights. The complete package, no one is more deserving to be at the top of this list. Remember to subscribe because I'm going to rank every other path, follow my TikTok. Bye!